Great. So good evening and welcome to another Q&A with the Chiefs. Thanks guys for being here again. This will be a quick, we just wanted to go over, the governor has reopened the state a little bit in some phases, and we just wanted to go over what exactly that means in the town, if that has affected anything. So we'll start with Chief Fritzl. Talk about what has reopened, and has that affected anything that we've been doing as of now?
So everything that was under the governor's stay-at-home 2.0 plan, retail markets were and shops were opened up or could open up as of yesterday. Medical procedures, non-urgent medical procedures could be started up again. And then next week is restaurants with outdoor dining may start at reduced capacities. And then we should know by the end of this week what the coming weeks bring. As far as a direct impact on the community, really not a big impact to speak of. Probably a little more next week with a couple of restaurants we have. Some that have outside dining, some that don't. And it depends upon the restaurants themselves if they even choose to go to the outside dining or just stay with strictly takeout.
Anything changed for the police department?
One of the only things that I would add to what the chief discussed is that the golf courses in town opened yesterday. So Passaconaway Golf Course and Hidden Creek Golf Course is open. So in observance of their parking facilities today, they seem to be active and have some golfers at the courses. A direct impact to the police department, no, we may see a little more traffic, but other than that, we're continuing to operate as we have been, safely, to be visible with our community.
So like in the case of the golf courses, I know it's private property, and it's up to the golf courses to make sure that everybody's adhering to the new rules and the social distancing. So that's not something that if one of your officers was driving by and there were 6 guys around the putt doing a putt, that's not something you would stop and say, hey, that's totally up to the golf course itself.
No, and I know the golf course has strict rules and regulations that are in compliance with the orders in how they disperse golfers up to 4 at a time. And I believe it's up to 15 minutes in between different sets of golf, the next golfers teeing off. I believe the putting greens are not available. Also, the driving range is still closed. So I have complete confidence in the staff at Hidden Creek and Passaconaway that they'll be in compliance. They run a great operation, and I don't anticipate any issues.
One of the things that the governor has opened up was campgrounds and town pools and lakes and things like that. Just to be, we don't have any campgrounds in town, correct?
Correct.
There's no campground in town. So as far as we have no town pool. So as far as the lakes go and the ponds and stuff like that, that's not something that was ever closed anyway. I mean, you could always go onto Half Moon if you wanted to, or Dara, or any other of the waterways in town. Is that true?
Correct. I mean, we never as a community really addressed it. It was still too early in the season. I actually fielded a call yesterday about Dara wanting, mother and son wanting to go kayak on Dara Pond. Again, the only thing we really restricted at the Dara Pond complex was the playground equipment because of the inability to maintain the sanitizing of it. Excuse me. So Dara Pond's open. The river access is open for canoeing, kayaking, so forth. And we have no campgrounds. So.
One of the things, like you mentioned, restaurants opening up on the 18th, where they can have 50% occupancy. Is that correct?
So the current is 50% of their occupant load with additional consideration for the 6-foot spacing between tables. And I know as of earlier this week, they were still even working out, the ability to keep the waiter, waitress, or wait staff that 6-foot distance. So if your tables are 6 feet apart or your customers are 6 feet apart, does it really need to be 12 feet in order to give the waiter or wait staff that space, and I don't know that that's come to a real resolution yet, but yeah, so it's 50% of their normally approved occupant load, and subject to the ability within the space to keep the 6 feet. So if a room, is slated for, or normally approved at 50 people, the max is 25. But if the configuration of the room, maintaining that 6 foot of spacing only allows 12,
Right.
it's 12.
Right.
So,
And as far as, now they can have 50% occupancy inside, but they can also set up outdoor seating.
so they actually can't have occupancy inside as of yet.
I mean, starting.
As of Monday, they're allowed to open for outside dining only.
But right now they can do only the outside occupancy.
It's starting on Monday, the 18th.
Okay.
They can do outside dining. So in our case, really the only two places that have, well, I guess in addition to the golf courses, have some already pre-approved outside seating. We have 2 other restaurants in town that have outside seating, so they can have that outside seating and utilize it starting Monday, the 18th, provided that there's that 6 foot spacing even outside.
Okay.
So-
As far as, occupancy, and to make sure that people are abiding by that, that would be something that, if it came down to it, something that the local police would have to make sure that that's happening. I mean, I'm sure the restaurant will do all they can to make sure it's happening, but if, there's been some restaurants around the United States that don't care and are just having whatever. So that falls under your jurisdiction.
Sure. So just to clarify, the occupancy falls under the fire department.
Right.
So they would be monitoring the occupancy to make sure the restaurants are in compliance with where they should be at. In the event of enforcement of the executive orders from the governor's office, those are enforced by the Department of Health and Human Services, state police, and your local police. So in this instance, the local police would monitor and make sure they are in compliance. And certainly, again, throughout this whole process, the real thing is if we made any observations that were concerning to us, it would be to work with the local establishment and educate them of the executive order, what's expected of them, and provide them with the resources necessary so they can be in compliance, maintain health and safety for the patrons, and serve our community.
All right. So this week is Police Appreciation Week. Is that what it's called? And today is International Nurses Day. I want to get that out of the way. And May is the Mental Illness Awareness Month. We talked a little bit about this last time. As far as checking on your neighbors, I mean, everybody's kind of getting a little stir crazy. I mean, the people 3 weeks ago, people who were saying, stay home, be safe, are now the same people who are out chanting with signs. So people are getting a little fed up. Have you seen maybe a little bit of the stress? Maybe people are congregating a little bit too much. Maybe it's a little bit more calls to the home for some domestic disputes, or has it still been kind of the same?
I think a fair assessment is that we have seen a mild increase in calls pertaining to people being irritated with neighbors or things that they're observing. So the call volume has increased a little bit, and these calls are not out of reason. I think that people are home. People have more time to make observations of what their neighbors are doing, what's going on in their community, in around town. So we have seen some mild increase in calls for service. And again, it's about educating our residents and working with them to help them get through these tough times and try to make sure that everyone can practice good social distancing, practice safe behaviors so that we can get through this and open up the town again.
So we've been behaving ourselves pretty good. We've been doing a pretty good job.
Litchfield's doing a pretty good job. Yes, sir.
But talking about Litchfield, and I know it's important for you guys in a normal situation without COVID-19. It's good to have to be seen in the community and be able to do community things, but you're not always able to do it under normal circumstances. But now, with all these requests for drive-by parades, it gives you a chance to engage with the community even more. We'll start with Chief Freitzel. How are you enjoying that? And is that like a perk that you didn't think of, like this was going to be a good thing, and this is something you're starting to enjoy?
Well, I think it's a good thing on both sides. For obviously for the individual that we're acknowledging, or the birthday parade or graduation parade, or whatever the case may be, for them as well as for everyone involved, whether it's friends, family that are driving by, police, fire. I know our staff enjoys going out because it's in a way helping in a unique way, helping in a manner that I don't think any of us ever really thought of or expected we would when we kind of got into the profession. We're used to, more situational and
Planned out, like Fire Week.
right, exactly, or just we've seen a slight decrease in typical call volume, but yet we've seen a little bit more activity in parades and other type things, tied to COVID. So on a, overall, it's been steady. It's been, no real ups or downs, peaks or valleys. But it's just how we're interacting now is a little different. And I know we've done a number of them, and they come in. I mean, just yesterday, there were 2 or 3 or 4 that came in. I mean, some going out a ways that we actually told the individual, please reach back out to us a week before, because, we're trying to schedule this week, let alone the middle of June type thing. If we even are still in this situation, we need to do that.
Right.
But I know our staff has, every one of them that have gone out, enjoy it. It's a way to make somebody's day. And that's really what, we strive for and rely on, look to do. This is a much better way than going to obviously a serious medical issue, or a residential fire, or, it's kind of a win-win, where usually when we're going to help someone, it's in a time of need. So
what about the department? How they've been enjoying leading the parade a few times for some birthdays?
I know for a fact that the officers enjoy it very much. I know that I personally have been able to join in on a few of them, and it's been exciting for me to throw the lights on, the sirens, to wave, to see the smiles of families and people who are being honored for their accomplishment or their birthdays. I think it speaks to the agencies, how we work to be at one with our community members and the town. So I'm excited to continue to move forward with more parades, and I really enjoyed it, and so haven't the officers.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly, people really appreciate it more than I thought. I didn't really think about how big of a deal it was going to be, but because of, everybody's dealing with this. I know you guys did one Saturday, my wife's cousin, where you guys went around Century Lane, and she was moved to tears. A 50-year-old adult moved to tears because of the parade that was set up for her. So it really means a lot. It's not just for kids. It's not just making kids happy. So I think it's awesome that you guys are doing that.
we actually did 5 on Saturday. 5 different ones, and at least one was 2 were at the same time. We had one situation where there were 2 at the same time, different parts of
Wrapping
town.
around. So they get to use everybody. So my birthday is June 9th. Russ, write that down.
Week before us.
All right. Yes, I'll be 50. Right. So the big 5-0, Russ.
In there.
Yeah. So I think my wife's secretly trying to set that up. Or if not, that's fine. Not throwing her under the bus or anything like that. So back to COVID.
No expectation there.
No expectations. I just sit in my front yard and nothing happens, like usual. The new the Department of Health has decided to change their map a little bit and now put current cases in the exact amount instead of a range. Has that changed anything for you guys as far as perception? Does it hurt what you're trying to do? Does it just make any difference at all?
I haven't seen any change or impact. originally they would do it. They were basically listing every positive case in a given county, then broke it down to community. Now that I think, more data is in and things have kind of settled out a little bit, they're able to keep track. But it's just another piece of information, a piece of data. We have that information already, so it wasn't anything new to us.
Nothing special there.
I would concur with the fire chief said. It's had no direct impact on us. And again, having that information already available to us, it didn't change how we operate or work together.
Now, if somebody, this town is very heavy into the social media. We have a couple of sites where people are, they go to a lot for information. They have a lot of opinions. They like to say what they like to express them. Somebody did out themselves as a current COVID positive test. Is that something you would, it's obviously it's up to them, but is that something you would, maybe they might not want to share that? There's a stigma, like we talked about before, there may be a stigma attached to that. And now people know who they are. It might get a little dicey. What would you be advice to someone who was thinking about outing themselves on social media?
I guess it's a personal preference. It's personal preference.
Right. It doesn't really change. You haven't seen like pitchforks and torches at their house or anything like that. You don't expect like the stigma of people, maybe watching their house and they went outside, they did this, they did that. That's really not anything that you might worry about or anticipate happening, and someone were to do that.
I feel confident in this community that the community members would be respectful of their neighbors and townspeople if someone did come forward and decide to disclose that they did have a positive case. And I think the important thing to consider, I guess, if someone was going to post something like that on social media, is to stay positive. Maybe it's someone who tested positive and has quarantined and has overcome the virus and is doing well and is healthy and could send a positive message out to the community.
Good point.
So for those people who don't have the opportunity to talk about being sick and don't have the opportunity to reach out to other people, it gives them a glimmer of hope to know that individuals can beat this disease. They can start with themselves and we can beat it as a community.
Great point. Talking about the test, we got an email and a text and a phone call, depending on the format you use. That would be testing for Litchfield and Hudson residents. Last Tuesday was the day to call up and pre-register if you had symptoms or if you had underlying issues. I'm not going to ask for specific information, but how does that program seem to work? Do we have a lot of people take advantage of that type of thing?
So we are involved because we're tied to Hudson through the Greater Nashua Health Department. So rather than each run our own, we felt it better to run a shared or a joint testing site that is scheduled for tomorrow, Thursday and Friday this week. As you mentioned, pre-registration, pre-qualification, if you will, was a requirement. As of earlier this afternoon, all the available testing slots were filled, and I understand there's a waiting list of about 80 people for testing. So
again, that's going to be at people who got a confirmation that they're going to have a test. Also got the information of where it's going to be. It's a non-disclosed location, so no one just shows up.
Correct. So they would have been given a time and a location for the testing. So,
talking about Chief Sergeant, frustration with having to roll up to a house where there's way too many people, not social distancing. It just wasn't a smart idea. And having to go do that when it really shouldn't have happened. Those types of things, not that specifically, but those type of things that happen in town when you think everybody's playing by the rules, and then you gotta break up a party where there's way too many people. You have any frustrations with that?
Well, I think we're always concerned about the safety of our police officers, the safety of first responders. And I think in our current state, it can be frustrating when you see where people could have been more responsible, taken better cautions, and maybe held off on doing a group gathering that's so large. I don't see it as much as our patrol officers do. But from when I was on the street, and people would put you in a certain situation where their safety and your safety was compromised, it was frustrating. But that's why we try to work with our community and turn a negative into a positive, and don't let our emotions get the best of us as we're dealing with the situation before us.
Because now your officers have to take super precautions and glove up and mask up, and when it just probably shouldn't have happened at all. We got one question from Carrie Litchfield in Litchfield. Something that we had talked about earlier, but she might have missed it. What was the testing only for higher risk groups? Do you want to?
So the last week when the criteria was set up, it was for residents over 60 with comorbidities or pre-existing conditions that met certain criteria. So it was not an open testing. It was targeting the specific at-risk population.
So I hope that answers your question. It was for, and I think they named the underlying.
There was, off the top of my head, I don't recall the specific
So
underlying
it was-
issues, but they were.
If you got the email, Karen, or the text, it was for specific underlying conditions. It was a list of about 5 or 6 of them, and if you had a couple of those or even one of those, basically you would call and they would screen you again anyway. And if they felt you needed a test, you'd get a test. I got a comment from a Peter Dion just saying, "Nice job, Chiefs." Of course, we're always happy that you guys are at the helm here during this very weird time, and everything seems to be, going as well as it can be right now.
So if I can go back to the testing question, Rob.
Sure.
So this was set up week and a half, just started about 2 weeks ago. And just to give you an idea, in the course of that time, we've now come, I would foresee the next testing available is going to be even less restrictions. As testing has become available, the state has been able to a degree, reduce some of the criteria needed. So that shows you just within a week, because I think right now the criteria out there are even less than what we were working with a week ago to schedule this particular testing.
So as far as like testing gets more and more available, this might be a HIPAA thing, but is that something that the departments should be tested, have been tested? Or if a test becomes readily available, is that something that the town wants you guys to do as public servants, or there's really been no reason to, no symptoms or anything?
So we've had right along the ability to fast track testing for exposed first responders, either through the private labs or the state lab, in order to basically get that first responder back to work as soon as possible because of early on concerns for shortages of first responders. As we go forward, we have not talked about just open testing without symptoms. One of the things that testing does, because it is available now, you can go to I believe it's Clear Choice, the Convenient Medcare has been doing testing for a while, and the other, I believe it's Clear Choice, has several sites around the state. The governor announced this late last week. We'll do testing if someone wants to go and they meet the minimal criteria there is. They will do actually both sinus swab testing as well as antibody blood testing. If either one of those come back positive, so you could conceivably have had it 3 weeks ago, didn't know you had it, you now come back and test positive for the antibodies, never had any signs or symptoms. They're still treating that as a positive, and they're doing the contact tracing back 14 days. So, those are other things that come into play. We would certainly test any of our staff that had any type of sign or symptom or any type of a unprotected exposure. And again, going forward, from statewide, on the fire side, fire chiefs and so forth, I have not heard of any departments that are doing,
Just get it out of the way type of thing.
right. Not yet, anyway. I'm not saying it's not to come, because really this whole agreement with Clear Choice, and the ability to offer almost at-will testing, if you will, to the general population, general public, is only something that's a couple of days, old. So,
What about the police department?
There's been nothing mandated for police officers. And I would just highlight the fire chief's comments that we've had testing available for our police officers, firefighters, first responders. And that's been very helpful in the event that someone needed to go get tested. So that's worked out very good. And to my knowledge at this point, there's nothing in the immediate future that would mandate police officers, first responders to take a test without any various facts.
Yeah, I can see it because, sometimes it's more trouble than it's worth. And if, like you said, then you got to reshuffle. If you're not symptomatic, you're probably better off not. But that's just opinion. But me, you guys can't say anything about that. Carrie Litchfield, thank you for answering her questions. We had another, the woman who you did the parade for on Saturday was mad that I said her age. And Roger La Rochelle says it's pretty cool that we're doing this. And that was pretty much, we had about 35 eyeballs, only a few comments. I guess you guys did such a great job answering all the questions. So
we can touch quick a little bit on what's to come on the town side, because the emergency management team has started that discussion. So what's reopening of the town facilities and so forth going to look like? And again, it's very early. There's really been no guidance set forth definitively yet from the state, but we're looking at, and I know the town administrator shared some of this with the board last night, but looking at starting to do a little bit more in-person stuff, more so here at Town Hall, starting, I believe it was Monday, the 18th, by appointment. Town Hall will still be locked and you'll get met at the door, your paperwork will get taken, questions, so forth, processed and brought back to you. And we're kind of working that as we go. That could change later this week if things change. But we are working on a plan and have been discussing what reopening of town government, and more public meetings as opposed to Zoom and web meetings and so forth. But that is in the works for anybody that may be wondering, are we not reopening? We will be reopening. We do intend to return to some level of normal. Don't really know, can't really say what that will look like. But in time, hopefully we'll get back to some kind of what we knew is normal. But that is in the works, Rob.
Great. And the governor is going to make another announcement about the next phase. What's the date? Do you know what the date's going to be? Is it the end of next week?
I
Is it June
don't
1st?
recall. I know I believe he's got another conference tomorrow. I thought I saw, and don't quote me. I thought I saw something maybe for tomorrow. But again, till he gets up to the podium,
Right.
it's very tight-lipped on what he's going to say. So
Actually, if you listen to Jack Heath in the morning on WGIR. He pretty much tells him exactly what he's going to say after he leaves the radio show and goes and does his daily thing. So we would, I don't like to, we have a crystal ball here, but we're probably going to be opening up to groups of 50, groups of 100 as we go through the summer. That's something that we'll have to deal with when it comes, open the parks, open the rec centers and the baseball fields and stuff like that. So as we get deeper into the summer, maybe we'll do this again. We got one more comment from Larry Rumrill, who says, I'm watching this while fishing in North Carolina. I'm proud of my old hometown. So the far reaching, put that in the stat book. We got somebody from North Carolina.
Global reach.
A global reach.
Larry was up here visiting just before this all started.
So I wish I was fishing in North Carolina right now. I think we all were. So guys, thanks for doing this again. Maybe we'll do it again sometime in the summer when things are really opening up. We're hoping to, I don't know if you're going to be on the graduation meeting, Zoom meeting tomorrow. I'll be on that with our plan and our 2 cents. So maybe we can have a normal graduation for the kids and not another parade, because the parents seem to not like that very much. So again, if you want a parade for a birthday or whatever, give them a couple of weeks notice. Don't just show up the day before and say, hey, can you swing by the house with the alarms, with the fire engine blowing? So give them a couple of days, a couple of weeks notice. They'll be happy to do it. They like to do it. That's all we have for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks, Russ, on the Wheels of Steel.
Minus
Roy Barboza. And I guess that's it. Thanks for watching.